Okay, Pirelli P0, it's $144 a tire. Pretty good, not bad, not a bad deal. Got Michelin Pilots, $200 a tire. Okay, Yokohama Advance, oh, okay, $329. Yeesh, that's expensive. All right, what are these? Michelin Pilot Sport Pax, huh?
$42,000.
Yep, that is a real thing. Now these are Michelin Pilot Sport Pax, and they are specifically designed for the Bugatti Veyron, and they cost $42,000 a set. Why? Why do they cost so much more than the average tire? What allows it to demand such a price? Is it just a markup because they're on a Bugatti? Well, today, we're gonna look at this very special tire, how it's adapted for the Veyron, and shine some light as to why they cost so darn much. Let's get it. Thank you to Audible for once again sponsoring an episode of Bumper to Bumper. Now, as you all know, we here at Donut took a much needed break a few weeks back. I was able to go out and do a little fishing, ride the old two-stroke, and make sure I was still engaging my brain and staying creative. I listened to a few audiobooks on Audible. They have an audiobook or audio experience for literally everyone. And using Audible, man, it's been a great way to give my eyes a little break from all the screens. But now that I've jumped back into the daily grind of crafting auto entertainment and struggling to sleep, but thanks to Audible Sleep, the stresses of daily life fade away while I drift into a deep slumber, listening to soothing audio experience from Sarah Auster and freaking Diddy. I used to listen to Diddy to get pumped for middle school basketball games. Now I listen to him to fall asleep. We're going full circle, people. So what are all you guys waiting for? Try out Audible for yourself today. Visit audible.com/bumper2bumper or text bumper to 500-500. So thank you for supporting the companies that support us. It's fair to say that tires are an often overlooked aspect of a car when discussing speed. People understandably want to talk about the engine, the stiff suspension, and the aerodynamic design, except none of that really matters unless the rubber that meets the road is doing its job. So enter in Michelin's Pax run flat system. The Pax system was a reinvention of the traditional run flat tire that ended up on the Veyron. At this point in time, there was a fairly mainstream approach to the run flat tire, which was to have a stiffened sidewall. And that sidewall is a smooth wall of rubber between the tire tread and the bead. And the sidewall usually is what protects the inner structure of the tire from road wear. On a run flat tire, however, a puncture meant the stiffer sidewall was needed to bear the weight temporarily and allow the driver to continue to drive at a reduced speed. But there's a good side and there's a downside with everything. And unfortunately, this created an issue. The stiffer sidewall made the ride much harsher and even adversely affected the handling at times when the tire was properly inflated. The Pax system, by contrast, uses a much softer sidewall with a supportive ring insert made out of a combination of polyurethane and rubber. And that ring is coated with a gel. And the polymer insert is wrapped around the outside of the wheel underneath the tire casing. And as a result, the tire won't collapse onto the wheel despite the fact that it has no air inside of it. And meanwhile, the gel that's there, it lubricates the tire as it runs flat. This polymer ring allows the tire to be a much stronger alternative to the normal run flat tire while simultaneously retaining a much more comfortable and stable ride under normal driving conditions. Now that sounds pretty freaking useful if I was going, I don't know, 253 miles an hour in my Bugatti Bugatti. For the Veyron, Michelin didn't stop there. The Veyron has a bespoke modification that came in the form of its size. Now the average tire is somewhere around 9¼ inches wide, totally fine for everyday use. The Veyron's rear tire width sits at a healthy 14.4 inches. So like here's about 14.4 inches, and here's about 9 inches. About 14.4 inches, 9 inches. Yeah, you get my point. It's a thick boy tire. It's so wide that it actually is the widest rear tire ever made for a production car. The Pax system has a custom designed tire with a specifically shaped bead lock. And the bead is a bundle of metal wrapped in the rubber around the inside edges of the tire that latches under the edge of the wheel, creating a seal. This specially shaped bead ensures that it stays in place regardless of the lack of air pressure by fitting it into a special groove in the wheel. And the need for this custom groove in the ring insert I talked about earlier meant that the wheels themselves had to be custom designed as well. So the Pax system required a Pax tire and a Pax wheel. You couldn't just go and put a Pax tire on any old wheel and vice versa. Bespoke equipment is what that is. That kind of sounds expensive. And you know what? Yeah, it was really expensive. Tires with this Pax technology were also offered on mainstream vehicles like the Honda Odyssey, the Nissan Quest, and the Acura RL. But there was a little bitty tiny problem. In order to repair or replace a Michelin Pax tire, a standard repair shop needs to have specialized Pax tire equipment and additional training to know how to put those tires on and take those tires off. And this equipment could cost anywhere from $3,000 to $15,000 depending on what the shop already had. And on top of that, the installation time was on average twice as long. If you watch a video of someone trying to put one of these tires on, it looks really hard. If you've ever put on a tire by yourself, you know what a huge pain in the ass it is. Now this is double the pain in the ass. So the similarities of the Pax system for an average car like the Honda Odyssey and the Veyron, they end right there. So to further stabilize the Veyron, the tires were glued to the wheel itself in order to further secure the bead to the wheel. And what's even more insane is that the wheels themselves have to be replaced every 2 to 3 tire changes. Even if it was driven 0 miles, the glue needs to be replaced every 18 months to ensure bead seal integrity at high speeds. Hey, it's hard to blame them. It's got 1,000 horsepower, and at 250 plus miles an hour, that becomes a real concern because wheels begin to experience more G-forces than any other tire. But how many G-forces, Jerry Berry? Well, don't worry, because Uncle Jerry's got you covered. We're gonna look at it. The combination of immense G-forces and air pressure creates an excessive amount of friction, and therefore heat builds up in the tires, which eventually leads to failure. What does that disintegration process entail? Well, when the tire gets hot, the air molecules inside get hot and causing the air to expand. Not only does the tire pressure increase, at high speeds, most of the forces are occurring at the center of the tread. This causes the center of the tread to actually rise from the massive centrifugal forces, meaning that the tire to some degree is actually pointy. Like, think about it, it's not really flat. There's an actual edge there. For the Veyron, the tires can only withstand these forces for just 15 minutes at its top speed before disintegrating. That sounds pretty cool to say, but I want to give you a more quantitative perspective at these forces. Let's take a look at the Veyron when it's going at its top speed of 267 miles an hour. At that speed, the tires are turning at a rate of 4,300 times a minute, creating a ton of G-forces. Now, what are G-forces? We probably know that. It's the acceleration of an object relative to Earth's gravity. Now, the Veyron's tires at its top speed are experiencing 5,442 G's of acceleration. It's even hard to imagine how much that is. It's a lot. Now, when it comes time to actually making the tire, it takes a lot longer to produce. A normal everyday tire cures in a fairly convenient 16 minutes. The Pilot Sport Pax tires on the Veyron, it takes them an hour to produce those. Now, Michelin is historically very tight-lipped about their rubber compounds, but we can assume that these tires use a bespoke compound specifically designed to deal with the high stresses of going 250 plus miles per. And in fact, when Bugatti approached Michelin in the early 2000s with the idea of hitting more than 250 miles an hour, Michelin was like, he scoffed at him. At the time, there was no tire that could handle the weight of the Veyron at just over 2 tons at those speeds. Now, the stresses are so intense that the tread design for these tires couldn't be more than 5/32 of an inch deep because a deeper tread would flex too much at such high speeds. Now, when you take your car to the tire shop, The average tire change takes about 30 minutes, maybe an hour if they're busy that day. And it will cost anywhere between $100 and $250 depending on the car. It's pretty normal, right? Nothing that would raise any eyebrows, and I like raising my eyebrows. The Veyron, well, that is a different story. The Veyron's need for its wheels to be replaced and glued to the tire meant that it had to be serviced at a specially Bugatti certified location. And there is not a lot of those. So there's a chance that you might have to send your car to France. That's right, your $1 million Bugatti has to be sent to a different country for you to get tire service if there's not a Bugatti dealer anywhere nearby. With all that research and reinforcement to allow the Veyron go to 264 miles an hour, and the fact that these tires can only be used on this specific car, it really isn't hard to see why they command a $42,000 price tag. Now, Bugatti and Michelin actually worked together again when it came time to develop the Chiron's tires. They went to Michelin's aircraft testing center. They used a machine that tested space shuttle tires at speeds up to 318 miles an hour. Don't worry, they did not make the same mistake as they did last time. Oh, no, no, no. They used Michelin Pilot Sport 2s with universal geometry. They give you a little bit of a deal, only $38,000 for a set of tires. Wow, thank you, Michelin. You're so nice. Thank you guys so much for watching B2B. Leave a comment down below. How long have you gone without having to replace your tires? Are you safe? Or are you on the, on a little testy side? Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow us on Donut at Donut Media. Follow me at Jeremiah Burton. We'll be back next week. Bye for now.